It's springtime. It means it's time to build some planter boxes. So today we're going to give you two builds, your typical Cedar Picket build and a New Craft Workshop special made out of furring strips and 2x4s. We're going to give you the complete build process on both of these, as well as a breakdown of costs to get these made. Stick around. All right, so this is the first box we're going to build today. This is a typical 3 Cedar Picket planter box. We're going to start by cutting our sides and our bottom down to length. We're going to need 6 pieces cut to 12 inches long, 4 pieces cut to 13 1/4. So let's get headed over to the miter saw and start that process. All right, so now that we have our sides and our bottom pieces cut, let's take our third picket over to the table saw and we're going to rip that to width. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to head back over to the miter saw. We're going to take 2 of the 3 pieces we just ripped, the 2-inch wide piece and the 1 3/8 piece. We're going to take that over there and we're going to cut 4 of each of those down to 16 inches long. That is going to make up our legs. So let's get to it. Okay, and finally we're going to take our third ripped piece from our third picket back over to the table saw. We are going to start by cutting a 12-inch long piece from the flat end, taking the remainder of that board, dividing it by 4, and that will become our 4 pieces for our top. So let's get after it. All right, so at this point, here's what you should have. 6 pieces, 12 inches long each. 4 pieces, 13 1/4 inch long. Our 8 pieces for our legs, 16-inch long. Our 4 pieces for the top, mitered, cut down from the scrap, which also gave us the 12-inch long filler piece for the bottom. You'll see why we need this shortly. So we're going to move this stuff out of the way, and we are going to start by assembling our legs. We're going to use glue and brads. Titebond 3. 3 is completely waterproof. 2 is resistant. So outdoor use, go with Titebond 3. All right, let's get these legs put together. Okay, our 4 legs are together and it's time to start assembling the box. On these legs, there's a long side and a short side. I always start long side down. That way I just know that my 2 sides look aesthetically the same. And when you're putting your first side together, start with your 14-inch boards. Starting with your 12-inch boards is going to give you a rectangle and not a square. So let's get this glued up. Same process. Glues, brads. We're going to put our 2 sides together, stand them on end, put our other 2 sides together, and then we'll start working on the bottom. All right, so let's get started on the bottom. Our other two 12-inch pieces are going to put in. No glue on these. The amount of brads that we'll put on the ends and the side will be more than enough to keep this in place. And the filler piece we had left over, we are going to have to go back to the table saw to rip this to width. But as you can see, we get everything we need from 3 cedar pickets for 1 planter box. Head over to the table saw. I'll be right back. All right, let's get this little piece tacked in place and flip it over for our top. Now, as far as the top is concerned, I like to put this together on my workbench using CA glue and activator. Feel like I can get a little bit tighter miter joints here, and then we can use this once it's complete to more easily center it on top of the box, give us a nice even reveal all the way around. So let's get this together. All right, so now that we have our top together, we can get an idea how this is going to fit. Same process as everything else. Glue and brads, and we're finished. All right, so this box is finished. This is your typical 3-picket cedar planter box. We are about to take this box and step it up quite a bit. We're going to build you guys a new craft workshop box. We're going to build it out of pine. We are going to stain and seal it, and it is going to be built to take an insert. This is something that you're going to want to make for yourself, and don't be surprised when your phone starts ringing and your friends and family are wanting some too. Hope you guys stick around after the break. Let's get to it. All right, let's get to this build. First thing we need to do is cut everything down to length. We're going to start with 2 pieces of 2x4, and we're going to cut those to 24 inches long a piece. Then we'll take them to the table saw, take off those rounded corners, and rip them down to 1.5 by 1.5. At the miter saw, we're going to take 1x4 furring strips, and we're going to get 8 pieces at 14.5 inches long each. And then 1x3 furring strips, we're going to need 24 pieces at 16 inches long a piece. Finally, we'll take some measurements of our insert that the plant will go into. We will take another 1x4 furring strip, cut our length and miters, do our top assembly here on the workbench like we did in the previous build, install it on the planter box. Then we're going to head outside, spray this thing down with some waterproofing with colorant. Stick around, we're about to get started. All right, let's get these side panels together. So for our first 2 panels, we're going to need 2 legs, 6 vertical pieces, and 2 horizontal pieces. We're going to put our legs and our horizontal pieces together with glue and pocket screws. We are using 1.25 inch. Make sure you're using blue. These are coated and waterproof, weather resistant for outside use. Once we get to the vertical pieces, we're going to do as we did before, wood glue and brads. So let's get this first panel assembled. All right, so here's panel 1. We're going to repeat this step, and then we'll be back to stand these up and install our last 2 sides. All right, as you can see, the box is finished. A couple things before we get to putting our sealer on this box. We are going to take our sander, knock off these sharp corners. We need to build our top. So let's go grab our planter insert, take some exact measurements. We will do the same thing we did on the previous build. We'll build our top here on the workbench with CA glue and activator, put the top on, center it. We're going to glue and a couple brad nails, but in each corner we have so much wood available for us. We're going to go ahead and put a couple screws in here as well. This thing is going to last, I promise. So let's go get our planter. Let's take some measurements and let's build our top. Right here, I am at 12 3/4 exactly. I know this is square, so all of my shortcuts on my miter pieces are going to be 12 3/4 each. So let's head over to the miter saw and make those cuts. All right, let's get this top put together. So just like with our other top, we're just going to glue and brad nail a couple along the edges. And as I said, we are going to put a couple screws because you can see the amount of wood we got here to bite into. Let's go ahead and put this top down and make it last. So here we go. All right, so as you can see, driving these screws in without pre-drilling was not an issue. Even this close to the edge, this furring strip usually doesn't split. It's pretty soft. These screws are great at going in on their own. We're going to take the sander. We're going to bump the sharp edges off of here. We're going to give this top just a slight go over. I have noticed a couple rough spots here and there. We want to keep this looking as rustic as possible, though, so we're not going to overdo it with the sanding. Once that's finished, we're going to go outside and we're going to apply our waterproofing and colorant. We're using an all-in-one. It's simply going to go on with a garden sprayer. Once a year, because we are using that insert, that liner box, instead of putting dirt directly in here, we'll have the ability to just pull that plant out, put another coat of our sealant on here once a year, and this thing should last. So we're going to get after the sanding, and after that, we're going to head outside, so let's get to it. All right, that's it. Let's don't overdo the sanding. We want to keep this as rustic looking as possible. So now it's time to get outside and apply our finish. So while I'm spraying this thing down, let's talk about cost on these 2 boxes. Starting with the 3 picket cedar. Here in my area of Houston, Texas, cedar pickets at the big box stores are going for $3.25 each. Got a grand total of $9.75 into that planter. Now the Newcraft Workshop design, the one made out of pine, we needed 4 1x3 8-foot long furring strips. We needed 2 1x4 8-foot long furring strips, and we needed half of a 2x4 8-foot long. Grand total on that was $19.21. As far as furring strips, we like using those because they're cheaper than 1x4s and 1x3s, and if you dig through the pile, you're going to find plenty of lumber that is nice to look at and adequate on one side for these planter boxes. And remember, that's all we need. A lot of these boards on this planter, as nice as this thing looks from the exterior, the interior side, there are some rough cuts, there's some bark showing, etc. Dig through the pile, you'll find more than enough, and I promise it's worth the cost savings. I have seen the cedar 3 picket boxes on Facebook Marketplace in my area ranging from $35 to $50. Here's a post right here. And a very similar build to my design I have found online. This gentleman is selling his for $95 unfinished. I think you guys could see that there is a little profitability in these. It's springtime, people are buying them up. Get out in your shop, build some. Let's finish this video. All right, so you made it this far. I'd appreciate you letting me know that by clicking down below in the comments and starting your comment with Uncle Karen. I'll do my best to explain the nickname over the next couple weeks and months for you guys, but during that time, we've got some really great projects coming up. I'm sure you saw my workbench. It's functional, but I have a great workbench plan in mind. Eventually, this will get upgraded. Dust collection, I'm rolling it around my shop right now, but we're going to run permanent duct to all of our stations. And yes, that pegboard sucks, I know it. It's coming down. We're going to put up a French cleat system. When we do that, we're going to have a ton of builds for organizers, tool holders, shelves, etc. for the French cleat system. We have a table saw in order. When that gets here, we'll show you an unboxing, initial impression, and give you our review on the table saw. We're going to do some furniture flipping here on the channel. So we have some ideas to allow you to take some furniture finds at places like Goodwill and flea markets, flip them, put them on Facebook Marketplace. Those can be really profitable. Last but not least, we've got some original builds in mind, as well as taking some YouTube favorites and giving them the Newcraft Workshop spin, just like we did that planter box today. We'll hope you stick around on this journey with us, as we're trying not only to grow this YouTube channel, but we're trying to grow our brand and our business. The biggest thing you can do to help us out is each and every time we post a video, leave some comments below. We'll do our best to be interactive with you guys each and every day. Also, please go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up for the video today and turn on your notifications. We plan on pumping out at least a video a week, probably some shorts in between. We're going to do our best to fill this channel with as much content as we possibly can. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time today, and we'll see you on YouTube.